Hi, and welcome to this tutorial about how electrons and atoms determine whether an atom is electrically neutral or it's an ion. An ion, remember, is a charged atom. Okay? So, a sodium ion has 11 protons, 12 neutrons, and 10 electrons. How many electrons does the sodium ion need to gain in order to have a neutral charge? Well, if it has 11 protons, and those are your positive charges, and 10 electrons, well, what's the difference between them? 1. So it needs to gain 1. Okay? Next question. Analyze the table above showing information about the 4 common elements. Since the carbon has lost 4 electrons, what is the magnitude? So what does the magnitude mean? It means size of its charge. Well, if it's lost 4 electrons, it's now no longer neutral, and it has 4 more protons than electrons, so its charge is plus 4. Okay. Examine the information about 4 common elements in the table below. How many electrons does the nitrogen atom contain? Notice here, it has a -3 charge. Okay. That means it has 3 more electrons than protons. So 7 plus 3 is 10. It has 10 electrons. And how do I know that? It has a -3 charge, which means it has 3 more electrons than it does protons. So 7 plus 3 is 10. Okay. Number 4, a sodium ion has 11 protons, 12 neutrons, and 10 electrons. For the sodium ion to become a neutral atom, it will need to A, lose 1 electron, B, lose 1 neutron. Okay guys, remember neutrons are neutral, so they're not even going to have anything to do with the charge. The only thing that's charged is your protons, which are positive, and your electrons, which are negative. Does it gain 1 electron or gain 1 proton? Okay, we have 11 protons, 10 electrons. How do I make that 10 electrons equal the number of protons? Well, to do that, I add 1. So I need to gain 1 electron. Because if I lost 1 electron, that would take me to 9 electrons. Examine the model of ionic bonding below. The diagram shows sodium transferring an electron to chlorine to form sodium chloride or table salt. When sodium transfers an electron to chlorine, both atoms become charged and are called ions. Choose the statement below that correctly identifies the positive and negative ion and the reason for the charge. Okay, so sodium lost an electron. That means the positives now are more than the negatives. So that means it would have a plus 1 charge. Sodium would be Na plus 1. Okay, chlorine gained an electron, so it's now Cl minus because it gained 1 negative. It has more electrons than it does protons, it's no longer neutral. So Na is neutral, it's not neutral. Na becomes Na plus, well, that's right, because it lost 1 electron to chlorine, which became neutral. Chlorine didn't become neutral, it became negative. Chlorine is plus because it lost 1 electron, and chlorine minus because it gained 1 electron. That's exactly the right answer. That's what happened, and that's how we would write it. Na minus because it lost, and Cl minus. Again, that one's wrong because it should be Na plus. Because if I lose 1 negative charge, I'm going to become plus 1. Examine the model of atoms below. Which of the following correctly identifies the electrically neutral atom and the reason for its neutral? Okay, so take a minute, look at the pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4. That one has 4 protons and 3 electrons. Okay, so 4 protons, 3 electrons. So it's not neutral. So anyone that says atom A is neutral is wrong. That means atom A is wrong and B is wrong because it's not neutral. There's more protons than electrons. It's a positively charged. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 6 protons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 electrons. That's neutral. Okay, atom B is neutral because it has an equal number of neutrons. And remember, neutrons have no charge. They're not going to have anything to do with the effect whether the atom is neutral or not. So that's the wrong answer. Correct answer is D. Atom B is neutral because it has an equal number of protons and electrons. That's where our positive and negative charges come from, the protons and the electrons. An oxygen atom has 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and 8 electrons. If the oxygen atom gains 2 electrons to form an oxygen ion, what will the magnitude and sign of the charge be? Okay, it gained 2 minuses. Okay, why do I know that? That's the magnitude and the sign, because electrons are negative, and it gained 2 of them. So the correct answer is A, -2. Examine the information about 4 common elements on the table. The oxygen ion has a negative charge. What is the magnitude of the charge of the ion? Okay, look here. Electrons are 10, protons are 8. What's the difference? 2. So the magnitude of the charge is 2. Examine the model of ionic bonding. Ionic bonding, guys, just for those of you who don't know, is between a metal and a nonmetal. The diagram shows the sodium giving an electron to chlorine and to form sodium chloride or table salt. When sodium gives an electron to chlorine, both atoms become charged and are called ions. Choose the statement that correctly identifies the magnitude and sign of each of the ions. Well, it gave one up, so now the positives are equal, so we'd call it Na+. This is a cation, or cation. Chlorine, it gained an electron, so it's Cl-. This is an anion. Okay, so which one has that exactly the way I wrote it? And the only correct answer is B, Na+ and Cl-. That's the correct answer. Examine the table below. Identify the charge and magnitude of the oxygen. Okay, so we're going to look at only protons and only electrons. Okay, we have a -10 and a +8. So the magnitude and the charge is -2. What is the difference between the protons and the electrons? So the correct answer is D, -2. Examine the models of the lithium atom and the lithium ion below. Okay, so take a second, look at them. What is the correct charge of the lithium ion? I apologize, there's no question on here, but that's what it would be asking. Well, how many electrons did it lose? It lost 1. So the only charge it could have would be something with a 1. So these 2+ and the 2- are wrong. So if I lost an electron, that means I have 3 protons, 2 electrons. These are positive charges. These are negative charges. I have 1 more positive charge than negative, so my charge would be +1, Li+. Analyze the information about 5 common elements on the table below. Which of the following correctly identifies the number of protons and the charge of the aluminum atom? Okay, well, what can we figure out? Okay, we know that mass number is equal to protons plus neutrons. So to find that, we go 27 minus 14 because that was the mass number, and I'm going to subtract them because I want the difference. So now I know that the number of protons is 13. So 10 is wrong and 10 is wrong. Okay? So we know it has 13 protons, but what is its charge? Well, I have 13 plus charges and 10 minus charges, and that means I have a 3 plus remainder. So it's 13 protons with a +3 charge. I hope this short tutorial helped you out. I hope you're feeling a little bit more confident about this concept, which is how do I know the difference between an ion and a neutral atom? So there you go, guys. Study hard.